이제 너 조금 이상해졌어 자꾸만 시도 때도 없이 시무룩하고 고민이 생겼니
What's up, you guys? So today we are doing a comparison review of the replica medium Chanel classic flap compared to a real Chanel authentic classic flap. Now obviously there is a size difference, but I do want to go ahead and point out that this is going to be a little bit tricky just because one is caviar, one is lambskin. The sizing is a little bit off, but I just wanted to kind of show the similarities and the differences between the two so that whoever is interested in getting a replica version can also maybe, you know, double check side by side what the real one would look like. Because even though despite, yes, this is a jumbo, you can still kind of like tell the difference between, you know, the medium versus like a replica versus a jumbo size. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and dive in. So from the get-go, this is gonna be the dust bag of the two. So right off the bat, this is probably also a little bit harder because this bag is a little bit of an older model. So this dust bag, it might have faded over the years, but as you can see, this replica dust bag is not as thick because if you can tell, so on the real Chanel dust bags, they have a separate pocket to keep the chain away from the bag. And that's only because it's just another layer to protect the bag itself, whereas here is just literally a little piece of fabric. When you feel both of them, they're actually like both pretty similar in the feeling wise. They both feel very soft, like that suede type of feeling, so that's pretty spot on. And then when you open it up, you do have Coco Chanel right in the middle here. And on this one, same thing, but it's a little bit darker. I think only just because it's maybe newer. Here is the jumbo authentic lambskin Chanel bag. So here's the front. Here is the side. Here's the back. And the other side. So despite this is a larger jumbo size, I do just want to point out some of the similarities and differences like I had mentioned. So don't really worry so much about the type of fabric that this bag has. Just keep more in mind about like the stitching and, you know, just how like the mouth part looks and just kind of like how the quilting looks. Also, you can also keep in mind with how the back looks with like the bottom stitches as well. So there's like some things that we could use this bag to compare to with the replica. You put the bags side by side. You just kind of look at the way that it has been made. From the get-go, like the little flap front part right here compared to the front part here, it's very similar. Because sometimes what happens is the mouth part might be a little bit too round where it's not this kind of oval shaped right here. So that is correct. And then I also want you guys to look at like the little end parts of the end flaps. See how on the replica it's a little bit rounded, same thing on the real one, so that is also correct. One thing that I will say that I can point out as a difference from right when I look at the CCs is the shaping of the CC and also the sizing of the CCs is different. I know because it's, yes, it is a different sizing bag, but if you actually look closely, this bottom of the real authentic one, it's a lot more skinnier and almost a little bit more like chic, and like the shape of it is a little bit rounded, whereas on the replica, it's going to be like a little bit more bigger and just sharper in shape, which is not like it's a bad thing, but just when you're comparing it side by side to the real thing, it's just that the CCs over here, they're just a little bit skinnier in size compared to the replica. Here are the side by sides. So look at the stitching. Here is the back of the bags. The top. If you can hear from how the chain sounds, this one has a lot more of a heavier feel and also that metal sound where it like kind of almost clanks to each other. However, on the replica, it's a lot more of a lighter material and it sounds almost as if it's like plasticky. It's not plastic, it's just the material isn't as like, the materials just aren't as heavy as the authentic one. So as you can hear the difference, here's a clank. And then when you open up the bags, this is the replica. The inside of the jumbo is not going to be raised like how the medium size is, but I do want you guys to look at the color. As you can see, it's not spot on, but it is very similar. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but if you can see, this is more like a dark red into like a burgundy purple. This one has almost like a brown undertone, but it is burgundy. It's just a little bit harder to tell on camera because of the lighting that's in my kitchen right now. But when you compare it side by side, it's almost similar but slightly different. Now, one thing I want to point out here, as you can see, even on this bag, even though the CCs aren't raised, you see how the spacing is the same here, here, and here. So no matter what Chanel bag you have, the CCs are always going to be similar in size. And so when you look at the replica, they did replicate that very well. And then you have this little part right here. There's a little cover on here so that it doesn't get scratched. So Chanel Paris and Chanel Paris. Of course, the replica doesn't have anything on it. As you can see on the authentic, it goes over and under. On the replica, it's still over and under, so it is correct. It's just I wanted to point out some of the details in difference. I know it's kind of hard because you have this jumbo Chanel bag versus the caviar medium, so the sizing and the look of the bags are going to be different. You keep in mind the shape and the stitching. I will say that the two bags, I will say that the replica was very well made. It's kind of hard for the camera to pick up, but there is the button that says Chanel Paris. The wording is a little bit different. On here, the words seems to be a little bit more spaced out and just kind of like pressed on, whereas this one, it's more printed and stamped on. The spacing is definitely a lot different, and the letters on the authentic one is going to be a lot smaller, whereas this one, as you can see, it's a lot bigger. I just don't know if the camera is going to be picking that up. I don't know if you guys can tell, but if you look at the CCs here, and then you look at the CCs here, the CCs on the authentic is going to be skinnier, and on here it's going to be a bit chunkier, and it's also thicker. So if you can see that. On the real Chanel Jumbo, this one was actually made in Italy, so it's gonna be different where this one, it says made in France on the inside. But I do want to point out is when you open up the bag itself, it typically should be peeking through. You see how here to here, right? And on this bag, they actually did a good job replicating that, where it does peek out. because sometimes what replicas will do is they actually end up putting the Chanel logo a little bit lower, so you can't really see it where it peeks out. Because this replica, it is a newer model, it has a microchip, whereas this one, it is an older model, so it does not have a microchip on the inside. I'm just trying to be super careful with it so I don't scratch this bag. No microchip on the inside of this bag. This bag was purchased.
There should be a very consistent number of links. I counted about 15 from the very first link to the very last one inside. For the fake, you're going to notice that they can come in various lengths, and their link pattern is not anywhere close. For the zippers, there's a bit of color difference in the fabric, but actually, surprisingly enough, the fake zipper is very smooth. And the real one feels thicker, a bit stickier now that I've used it for a while. But it feels sturdier, I suppose. Opening them on up, the real one's going to have the zipper sewn in with no lining. There's been a lot of complaints lately about how see-through it can be near the bottom of the stitching. That doesn't mean it's fake. A lot of them are being made like that nowadays. You'll notice a triangular shaped keyring, and you'll notice the logo. And you'll notice the leather has quite a bit of texture to it.
And the real one is a bit flat. Now from the back, even the pattern is really similar, but the difference is the bottom pattern is different. You see the fleur-de-lis, and on the right one, this have like half of it still there. That is the only difference. Other than that, it's almost the same pattern. That is scary. Okay, that's how it looks from the back. Now let's see the inside. Oops. There you go. If you see the stitching, it's almost different also. Now this is also where they made the mistake. The inside flap of the real one is the light brown, where the fake one, they have the classic monogram color. See? But I've seen some fake, the other fake, that they do have the real canvas color. That's even scarier than this. Now the inside, they both have the same black with the felt, with the very soft the felt. What is that? The felt like. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm trying to get the heat stem there with the gold. There you go. And the fake one also have the gold color. Really difficult to tell just from distance. But if you can see it like this, you can tell it's smoother on the real one. Now I'm looking for the zip. Let's see the zip. It is made of the thick metal. It is really similar also with the fake one. When I touch it, it is quite thick. Now, see the side also quite thick. Very